Hi, Maker Kevin Myers. Welcome back to the 24/7 News Show. It is March 29th, 2019. I believe, let me check my schedule. This is the last video of March Madness. Don't worry though, we'll be back on Monday, so we're really moving fast here with April 1st's episode. Anyway, let's jump right in, where Apple has just announced a variety of new web services, because recently they've made it quite clear that they want to be a web services company like Google or Microsoft or Amazon. This is because you can make far more money, you can be far more profitable off of web services, which are free for you to replicate. They're expensive to develop, but then they're free to replicate, whereas making an iPhone over and over again, you got to pay for the components every single time. In addition to the fact that iPhone sales have been slowing in recent years as a result of the fact that they really aren't that different year in, year out. So the biggest by far announcement was Apple TV Plus, or at least that's what Apple sees as the biggest announcement. They had variety creators, including Steven Spielberg, up on the stage to discuss how they will be producing original content for Apple TV Plus, which is going to be a paid streaming platform, much like the likes of Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime TV. So that's interesting. Frankly, I don't know that we really need yet another originals streaming service. I mean, how many subscriptions am I gonna have to pay for now? I got Apple TV Plus, Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Vudu, Crackle. Where does it end, right? I mean, no one watches Crackle, but like, I feel like there's too many already. But what I find more interesting is actually Apple News Plus. Now, this is going to be a service that basically bundles all the major news services together, like the Washington Post, Time, Rolling Stone, other magazines such as that. And I find that, like, the list they have here actually is Men's Health, Vogue, Time, National Geographic, and the New Yorker. And I'm sure they'll eventually have, if they don't already, the Washington Post, the New York Times, great sources like those. I think this is great because newspapers across the country have been struggling to deal with adapting to the digital age, where the news is free. You don't pay for a subscription for someone to deliver a weekly newspaper to your house, or you don't. And internet ads are nowhere near as profitable as those on TV or print ads. So they've been struggling a lot, and I would absolutely be willing to support the Washington Post. The problem is I don't want to have, again, like I just said with Amazon or Apple TV Plus, I don't want to have 10 different subscriptions I have to pay for, because it's not just expensive, it's inconvenient. To have your credit card, which is not something you want to be giving out all too much, on like 10 different sites paying for basically the same thing. Like, I don't want to have to sign up for like the New York Times, a subscription thing, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal. I mean, where does it end? So one service from Apple, paid subscription that bundles all the news services together. I think that's awesome, and honestly, it's the one Apple service I would actually consider getting, even though I don't own any Apple products. However, it is also currently not available on anything except for Apple products, but I don't know, from looking at iTunes, there is a chance that some of these services could work their way onto non-Apple devices, which would make me more likely to actually use them. Anyway, they did also announce Apple Card and Apple Arcade. Apple Arcade, it's like Xbox Game Pass, something like that. It's a subscription service that gives you access to games on the App Store. However, what's more interesting is Apple Card, which is Apple's first credit card. So it has no actual number. You don't have a credit card number. It's saved in the secure enclave on your phone, meaning it is far less susceptible to hacks or anything like that. Because with a normal credit card, it's like walking around with your password taped to your laptop, because it has the security code and your credit card number on it. So anyone who has it can instantly start making purchases on your dime. Whereas with this, they encourage you obviously to use your phone and Apple Pay where it's available. And so that way it generates a new random number. That's how that digital payment technology works, is it generates a new random credit card number, a spoofed number that it gives to the teller, a different one every single time. It never gives out your real number. In addition to that, Apple Card, in case you do not, or in case you're shopping somewhere where they do not accept Apple Pay, they will actually send you a metal card in the mail, which does not have anything printed on it. All it has is the little chip that you insert into the reader. So, frankly, I'm not the most pro-Apple person, but I think that these services are legitimately helpful, and I think it's really interesting, actually, to see a tech company launch not just digital payment like Apple Pay, but their own credit card to supplement it. I think that's really interesting. But let's move on to world news. And in world news, the Mueller report has been delivered to the Attorney General. So this Russian investigation, and more than that, certain details they've briefed Congress on it already. As far as we know, right now they have not released the entire document to the public. Many, both Democrats and Republicans, even Trump supporters, are calling for the release of the Mueller probe documents to the public, the Mueller report specifically. Now, as of now, Trump has not been implicated in any crimes. He's not been indicted or anything like that. But he also has not been exonerated. So we're in an awkward middle ground where the president has not been charged with any crimes, at least in this investigation. He actually has already, we know for a fact, he has committed campaign fraud, which is illegal. But this is a separate story, though. Now, technically, they did not find strong evidence of collusion, however, or they did not find any evidence of collusion through the investigation, which I find confusing because if we look back, remember the Trump Tower Russia meeting with Donald Trump Jr., where they willingly and knowingly met with a Russian person to seek dirt on Hillary Clinton through the Russian government. And if that's not colluding with the Russians, I don't know what is, and I frankly don't understand how that didn't make it into this report. Now, maybe President Trump himself didn't authorize that. I might buy that, but there was still obviously collusion with the Russians. I mean, that's public common knowledge. Donald Trump stupidly released the emails to the public incriminating himself and the other people who met with this Russian woman. So technically, the Mueller report did not prove that. Did not prove collusion with the Russians. However, if you want it, you cannot call it a witch hunt because, frankly, even if it came back with nothing, which it did not, multiple people were indicted on other crimes, such as Paul Manafort. But even if it came back where no one had been convicted or accused of any crimes, democracy still would have done its job at the end of the day. It is the responsibility of the government to investigate possible crimes. And sometimes people do turn out to be innocent, and that is okay. It is not a massive waste of time or government resources to do that. It's what keeps our democratic process secure. It is what makes America America. It is what keeps our democracy safe, secure, and free from tyranny. So, calling this a witch hunt, it's kind of anti-American in a sense. It's authoritarian, I kind of think. Now, to complain about the length of the investigation, to say they draw it out, that's kind of fair. But as far as calling it a witch hunt, you're kind of un-American by doing that, because the fact that we have three separate branches of government that can investigate each other is part of what makes our democracy special. It's what makes it less likely to go full-blown authoritarian, unlike the Russian government, which is supposed to be democratic, but as we know, their presidential elections are incredibly rigged. And not in the sense of the Electoral College, which is stupid. It's more intentional rigging for Putin specifically, rather than the Electoral College, which actually benefits smaller states, which is idiotic, and frankly, I think we should abolish it. That is not the most relevant thing, but again, just looking at everything here, I'd be lying if I said I didn't wish that Trump was implicated. I've made it very clear I'm not a fan of his on this show numerous times. However, I mean, we don't need the Mueller report, frankly, to know that Trump has engaged in shady behaviors, because this investigation, we still don't know whether the Golden Showers tape is in existence or not. That's the one of, I'm just going to say it, Trump in a Moscow hotel room with a bunch of prostitutes peeing on each other for his amusement. That's what it's about. And the scariest part about that is it doesn't sound that far-fetched, because of the Stormy Daniels thing, the Playboy Playmate thing. It doesn't sound that far-fetched. And so again, summary of my argument, I guess, we didn't need this to know that Trump's a scumbag, even if it didn't actually end up leading to the proof of any sort of collusion. Democracy still worked, and fundamentally, I am okay with that. So, yeah. Thanks for watching the 24/7 News Show. Leave your comments below. Remember, keep them rational. Keep them. Make sure they're not offensive to anyone, and other than the political opposition. But what I'm saying is, you can challenge me, just don't be racist, sexist, or homophobic, or transphobic, or anything of that nature. So, yeah. I'm happy to have rational debates based in facts with you in the comments. It's perfectly fine. Thanks for watching the 24/7 News Show. See you on April 1st.